Guys, can you see my screen?
Definitely, I can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anybody have any questions before going to the exception handling part? So we'll continue this. I got a WhatsApp message from Venkat, I guess somebody, Raju, I guess. So we'll discuss once they start. Okay, so guys, in the last session, we discussed about the error handling part at a high level functionally. So how we handle in the Java and all, we look into it clearly. And then here in the MuleSoft, how will you handle? So if you are facing some issues in your flow, you wrote some flow, but then something happened in your flow. So what's need to be done? So how will show it to the consumer? So boss, this is the problem. So you have to correct it. So while you are sending in information. So like for example, so we are expecting. So there are several scenarios, guys. For example, I just give a few scenarios. So where we need to exactly handle these type of situations. No badness. I'll just keep it a GUI. So whatever the GUI it is printed. So there is a source system, guys. He is a one of the consumer actually. Hope you people are getting, guys, what exactly what we are doing, where we are. So why you are the middlewares are using exactly. So there is we have a multiple GUIs in future, guys. Not only one GUI. So we have a multiple consumers. Even we don't know what consumer is trying to talk to the, I mean target system don't know, so how many consumers they're trying to fetch it actually, right? So like this we have a multiple consumers. So then ESB, so ours is MuleSoft. So like in market we have several ESBs. So this is a MuleSoft. And so from here we'll talk to the target system, right? Whatever the target system is, whether it's SAP or it's CRM, whatever the application it is, maybe it's a database or else it's a queuing mechanism, right? Here, if you observe here, what I just now I made a statement call. So he is the consumer. GA is nothing but a consumer. So this guy, target system, don't know how many consumers or else who is the consumer uh, they're trying to fetch the data actually. This target system only about know about only the CSB actually, right? But they don't know how many consumers, at least how they are fetching, what format they are fetching. Also, they don't know. So they only know about this ESB actually. ESB is always to talk to target system. From the target system, it will back to it's asynchronous, right? According to asynchronous, it will go back, and then these people will talk to the MuleSoft will talk to the will share the data to GUI people, right? That interaction will be there. So coming to our error handling part, suppose here Mule will expect some JSON format, guys. JSON format I'm expecting. So when the user is trying to fill the interface, in the interface they have GUI have some interface, right? In the GUI end user will enter the data. When he's trying to click submit button, so as a developer, GUI developer, he will prepare the JSON data internally whenever end user submit the button. So he'll prepare the JSON format. He need to send to the data to MuleSoft. Okay. So then in the JSON format, so whatever the manipulation you want to, suppose I want to remove some fields or else I have to enrich some data, I have to enrich it, or else I want to map it because target system fields are different. Whatever we are getting fields are different, right? So we have to map it using transform. So such kind of operations will do in the middleware. So here what I'm trying to highlight is, suppose you are expecting a JSON format. As a middleware guy, I'm expecting a JSON format, but uh, he is sending a XML format. XML format he is sending. So then we should give proper error message back actually, boss. I'm expecting JSON format. There is a JSON exception, or else JSON parser exception will get it actually. Okay. So this type of exception we have to send back to the user, boss. We have to correct it. We have to send back that proper format, or else that is based on our contract actually or commitment. Like suppose uh, why here MuleSoft exactly? One more question, one more thing. So suppose here GUI one. GUI2, GUI3, GUI4, maybe 100 clients are there, 100 consumers are there. So these people, GUI1 and GUI2 can able to send JSON format, but GUI3 they have their own restrictions, right? Like if you take some tools like Hero, there is one of the tool is that guys Hero. They have their own restrictions actually. They can't able to send how we are expecting, right? So why middleware here? So whatever the format we're sending from the getting from the client, we have to parse it actually. That's why here middlewares are in the market. So this can able to send only XML format. We can't able to send what we are expecting actually. What we need to do, what we are getting, we have to convert into the our expected format or else target system expected format. Hope you people are getting. So then one more client is sending some other CSV format. Right? So, but here we have to implement only one service to support all the consumers actually. It should be generic service. Whatever we are going to implement, that should be generic service. We should not write each client. We have to write separate service actually. Only one service we have to write it. On top of that, if it is like that, if these type of cases, suppose we have a 10 consumers, each consumer send different data. Right? One consumer is sending XML format, another sending. So end of the day, we are expecting JSON, but others are sending different format. So on top of this, on top of our generic service, you can write a wrapper service, guys. Why we need to write a wrapper service? So for converting data, whatever the format we are getting, suppose XML we are getting, we have to take the XML, we have to convert into the JSON format. That JSON format, our original generic service will receive it actually. So like that, in the MuleSoft, in the middleware, you can write the wrapper services. The wrapper services functionality will convert into the how this generic service will expect. So we have to convert it actually. Suppose, so really we are expecting a JSON format, but they are not sending. So initially they committed, but in between something gone wrong, something code messed up their side, they're not sending JSON format. Then what we need to do? We have to send back. We are getting a JSON parser exception. Generally, something gone wrong in the JSON, so we can double quotes or else comma separator within flower bracket. Something is missing, so then it will give a JSON parser exception, guys. So in that time, so generally in the MuleSoft, we have a concept called RAML, guys. You don't need to worry about that actually. So here in the RAML, you can mention what body type you are expecting. It's a generally we are getting a body, right? It's a post method. We discussed already clearly, guys. If you are not getting my terminology, please raise your voice. I will explain once again. So we seen get request and post request. So generally, if you are getting any body, so then it should be post request. In the RAML, so there is a concept of RAML, guys. So what was the purpose of the RAML? So it's like a in the WSDL, so suppose we have a in the Java or else in the Java we have two types of services. Like one is a SOAP service, another one is REST service, guys. REST API and SOAP API. Okay, so here SOAP API is purely depend on WSDL, guys. I will tell you what is meant by WSDL also. So web service description language, WSDL is nothing but web service description language. This contains how you are expecting the data, how you are sending back to the data, means how was the request, how was the response, is there any mandatory fields are there, is there any optional fields are there, so what was the operation consumer will try to consume it. So all the information will be there in the WSDL file. Hope you people are getting in the SOAP service, in the SOAP API. So when you are trying to expose as a SOAP API, right? So people will consume this WSDL file actually. Why? That WSDL contains all the information. You don't need to share, boss. This is the operation. So this is the parameter we have to send it. This is the type of the parameter. So you don't need to tell them actually. What I'm trying to say, guys, I'm repeating once again. Suppose he is the consumer, he is trying to consume our service. How he will consume? So you have to share our REST API URL clearly. So hope you people are getting. So here, so somebody is trying to consume our service. We are the middleware people. How you are testing earlier using Postman, you are testing your get method or else post method, put to delete whatever it is. But end of the day, somebody consumer is trying to consume it. Here our Postman is nothing but consumer, right? We are testing only middleware. That's why you are using a Postman and you are working according. But end of the day, how it will happen? There is a consumer. Consumer is trying to consume our API. How will consume based on your REST API URL? You have to share your REST API URL. So then accordingly we'll try to consume. So here also coming to here. So there is a WSDL guys. So based on the WSDL, so we have to share to the WSDL to the consumer. So consumer is trying to uh, call your operation or else your method. So based on that visual file actually. Okay. Coming to REST actually, REST is purely URL based. So that's what we are talking about. So whatever you've done, you have to share your URL to the consumer, right? So then he is trying to consume your service based on your URL action. So here why I'm trying to highlight in RAML here. So in the RAML, we can achieve many things, guys. Like what are the mandatory fields, what are the optional fields. From here itself, we send back the error. Actually, you don't need to come inside the flow. Then we need to handle all these things. So that is not required actually. When you are trying to when you will discuss this RAML, you'll see that time as of now at a high level. So RAML will take care the how many what are the mandatory fields we are expecting, what are the optional fields we are expecting. It will give the documentation also. So here in the WSDL, if we share that WSDL file, the SOAP, if we share the WSDL file, he can able to consume everything. He is not required to talk to you actually. If you share proper WSDL, simply he can use that, he can consume it. Because everything is there inside the WSDL. He just go through the WSDL, he can able to consume it. So similarly here, so RAML will give the RAML console guys. This is a RAML console. In the YAML console, it is clearly there. Once you done your API, if you are using YAML console, right? So YAML console is nothing but a documentation, guys. If you share the documentation, so then he can go through that. He can able to consume our service. Why? Because how was the URL it is? What was the parameter we are expecting? What was the response we are sending? Everything will be there in the YAML console. So don't confuse it, guys. If you're not getting, then fine. Actually, I'm trying to highlight the error actually. So coming to here, so coming to back, if you are getting a JSON parser exception, so then we have to prepare properly. We have to send back to the user, guys. So whoever consume it. So that's what I'm trying to highlight it. So not only like our built-in our exceptions like null pointer exception or else SQL exception or else something like string index out of bound exception and a member format exception. Not only these exceptions, so these kind of exceptions also we need to handle it actually. So if you are expecting certain format, if you're not getting that format, you have to raise a exception and you have to send back to the user. Suppose this is the format we are expecting. This is something gone wrong in our payload. Please correct. Such kind of things we have to send back, guys. Okay. So that is the thing. So here I'm trying to explain one of the scenario. So in the last session we discussed about the database, guys. So we'll try to explain that part. So here this is a PostgreSDB. Yeah, PostgreSDB. Here we are passing two parameters. One is URL, another one is some driver, guys. So if everything is fine, so there is no error, then it will go talk to the database and then it will fetch the data or else insert the data. That will happen, guys. Suppose intentionally, I just for explaining purpose, I'm trying to pass a wrong username, guys. So here username is mule user actually, but I'm trying to change the. I try to change it as a mule user one, guys, for explaining purpose. So here is the credential. So in real time, so suddenly credentials get changed. Somebody backend people, so some other team, right? Backend people, they change the password or else they change the username or else they change the schema name itself. The database name they change. The total database is not there in the backend. Okay. So these kind of things, how we'll handle it, right? So If anybody changes in the backend, they have to intimate us, guys. Accordingly, we'll update that external properties file. This is the advantage, guys. Why? Because we are doing environment specific here. So somebody change the backend, if they will update, simply you can change it here. So no need to touch your code. Okay, coming back to this. So I just passed that as a wrong username, guys. Let's see. Let's open the database configuration. I'm trying to click the test connection itself, guys. Here only you can test it actually. So is that correct? Connection is successfully established or not? You can check it here only. Something gone wrong here also. The error dialog should come. Okay. See the error, guys. It was clearly saying mule user one does not exist. Okay. So let's see programmatically. So how we handle that situation. So what I did, observe here, guys. I told you clearly in the last session. So what are the exception strategies we have available? So first, what we need to do, there is a choice exception strategy, guys. So we discussed about the choice exception strategy. In the choice exception strategy, we have to keep it multiple catch blocks. So one try block, coming back to previous explanation, one try block followed by multiple catch blocks, right? So, um, uh, but there are no multiple try blocks, right? Hope you people are getting one try block followed by multiple catch blocks, but there is no multiple try blocks actually. So here, one choice exception contains multiple catch blocks, right? So same thing I did, guys. So according to your flow, actually, suppose in my flow, as of now, it returns only something gone wrong in your database. Return only SQL exception. Think like this, SQL exception. That's why I handle only one situation. So tomorrow something gone wrong in your flow. You are doing some manipulation on numbers. So something gone wrong, so then it will give number format exception. So for that also you have to drag and drop one more cache flag. Accordingly, you have to handle it, right? So tomorrow one more exception called null point exception will come. So then you have to drag and drop the cache flag. Accordingly, you have to so handle that situation. So like that. So if you see here in error handling, I just drag and drop the choice exception strategy. Under choice exception strategy, I put a two cache blocks. This is one cache block, another one is this is one cache block. So inside cache block, we can implement our flow, right? We can implement our flow. So why? Because once you receive the error, so there is a huge print stack trace will display in the console, right? So client don't want to expect the whole thing actually. Client will expect only what was the exact reason. So what was the exact reason for failure this flow, right? That we need to capture it. We need to send back to the consumer. So then according to that consumer developer, whoever implement that, accordingly will frame it. So he will frame user readable format. So then he will show on the pop-up because end user does not understand if you are sending whole null pointer exception or else whole string index out of bound exception, right? So he will take care, he will convert into readable format. He will show on the pop-up or something else, right? So that is headache. So, but what we need to do, so what exact reason, what is the exact reason? If you see, just now I tried to test the connection, it was giving exact reason. Mule user one does not exist, right? That type of exact reason we need to capture it in workflow, then you have to send back to the consumer. Okay. So here, same thing I did. So choice exception strategy. So initially that is minimized, guys. Just click on the error handling, it will expand it. Then drag and drop the choice exception strategy first. Okay. Under choice exception strategy, so first case, think like this. This is giving SQL exception. I need to handle that SQL exception part. Okay. So that's why I drag and drop a catch exception strategy. In the catch exception strategy, so there is a execute when. There is a execute when. So when this catch block should fire, right? So suppose here when I will get so java.sql exception. So that time this catch block should fire. My intention is that. So if whenever in my flow something gone wrong in my database, so suppose if it is SQL exception, please go to the catch flag and accordingly execute this catch flag. That was I'm trying to say here. So in the catch flag, what I did, so execute when there is an option execute when exception dot, this whole syntax is nothing but a null expression only, guys. Hash square bracket exception dot caused by, so java dot sql dot sql exception. But how we will know? How we will know? Is that really display this exception? How will get to know? So how we'll get to know? So without initially I did not implement this, right? When I'm trying to execute this, uh, something gone wrong in your credential. Obviously, it will give the error message in the console. In the console, hope you people are getting. So in the console, it will clearly display the print stack trace, whole print stack trace. It will display the exception actually. So from there we have to capture it. From there we have to capture it. What was the reason? Then we have to copy paste in the parenthesis. This is the part file. Execute when is a it's a built-in. So this part is whatever the exception you are getting in your console. It will clearly tell us what was the reason it is, what was the exception it is. That part you have to copy paste it, not whole part, guys. Only this will give clearly whatever the exception that exception we have to copy it. We have to paste here. So then, whenever you are trying to hit once again, so then it will fail here in the database. Clearly, it will fail here. It will jump into your cache flag actually. Why? Because you handle that situation actually, right? So it will jump into your cache flag. So then, whatever you written in the inside of the cache flag. Suppose I just drag and drop a logger only, but you can implement a flow if there is a client requirement is like so in the last session also we discussed something gone wrong, so client want to store that exception part or else error message part, some queuing mechanism, right? So that queuing mechanism logic we need to implement under the cache flag because their requirement is like that. Something gone wrong. So they want to store that message, why it is failed, what was the reason it is failed, right? I mean, what was the suppose what was some unique ID, any unique ID you are getting in your payload that you have to capture it. So then you have to send to the queuing mechanism, one of the queuing mechanism like ActiveMQ or else RabbitMQ like that, right? So these kind of scenarios will be there. If it is there, we can implement inside the flow. As of now, I just display the logger. In the logger, what I did, observe here. So here is the caused by. This is the syntax, guys. Exception is a superclass. Exception is a superclass. It's an object. Under that, we have a method called caused by. That is the thing. So these two should enable it. Enable notification, log exception. These two checkbox by default enable. So if you not enable, please enable it. So the next one is in the logger. In the logger, so I just now I told you, right? So we have to send back the proper message to the back to the user. If you want to send back a proper message to the user, what we need to do, guys? I just logged it actually, whatever the exception I'm getting, but you have to drag and drop the set payload, right? In the set payload, you have to do same thing, exception.cause.message. If he is expecting specific format, think like this. So you are expecting as a JSON format from the consumer. Similarly, your consumer also will expect certain format because he can able to consume only that specific format because he is the client. He is for maybe somebody else is trying to talk to that client, right? So that's why he has his own specific format. So that's why what we need to do, once you get the response, that response also you have to send how he was expecting. We need to convert it, we have to send it actually. So once you got the message, right, we have to convert into, suppose he is expecting JSON format, we have to convert into the object to JSON, whatever the object we are getting, we have to convert into JSON. Then that JSON format we have to send back to the client actually. So maybe he will expect some status code and then status message, failure. He have certain certain I mean codes for failure things, right? We have to prepare like that. We have to send back actually whatever the response we are getting. So coming back to here, so in the exception is an object, under the cause there's a method. These all whole built-in, guys. So whatever the reason, right, exact reason that will display in the logger. So that's what I did actually. So any questions, guys? Any questions as of now? Lavanya, do you have any questions? If not, can you please mute? Okay, so I'll just try to execute and we'll see in the debug mode, guys. Step by step, we'll get to know more things. I'll already kept the debug here. I'll try to execute this. I'm trying to deploy this debug as main application. Yes. Okay, it's get deployed. Let's try to hit the request. Here is the Postgres my path. We try to hit same thing from the browser because it's a GET request now, so we can hit from the browser also. So let's hit the request. We got the request here. So then you can see this. If you want to see any inbound properties and all. Hope you guys are familiar with any points today, guys. See, as a developer, we have to always execute in a debug mode, guys. So until unless you are familiar with these things, so then you can prepare. So advantages, you can prepare the syntax also, the expression syntax, until you will get some more familiar on mail expression language. And just click next step. I hard coded, guys. That's why it is coming as a payload here. And then here is the thing. Let's see. I'm just clicking next step. F6 or else click the symbol. Observe here, guys. So it's get red symbol. Earlier, how it is? It's like a blue symbol, right? So now I see the some exception here. Observe here in the debug mode. So expand this. Earlier you can see this exception is null. Exception thrown also null actually. Now see something is there in the exception thrown. I'll just expand this. Let's see. So I'll just expand this again. See exception thrown and again cause also there here, guys. You can see here clearly cause. What is the cause here? Was clearly telling, so JDBC Postgres SQL localhost 14532 15432 lineage WMS payloads of the credential pursuing. It was clearly showing fatal error mule user 1 does not exist, clearly saying what was the issue with this, right? So we need to copy this one java.sql.sql exception. That's why you need to run in a debug mode. You can capture the things like this. Or else, suppose I'm not running in a debug mode, and then how we
Yeah. Uh, Venkat, quick question. There is an attribute called as fatal. So for every exception, there is any set of words or things which they use, like fatal or anything else.
no, it's depend on exception only.
Oh, okay. So sometimes there will not be any such verb, but details of exception. That's it,
Yeah, but we have
right?
to, yes, we have to concentrate on this only.
Okay.
Okay, so that is in a debug mode. You can see there, or else, if you are running in normal mode, you execute it simply. Then you can go back to your logs, console logs, and check your root exception stack trace. In the Java also it will display as stack trace. You can call it as. Here root exception stack trace is there. You can see here actually what was the reason it is. This we have to concentrate. We have to take this one java.sql sql.sql exception. There is a built-in class. SQL exception is a built-in class under SQL package. We have to copy that. We have to copy that, but forget the whole these things. It was showing many things, right? You can see huge stack trace. But you have to take this one, SQL exception, and then put it into put it into where caused by is there now under cache flag within a parenthesis. There's a this is a caused by is a function, right? So within a parenthesis, we have to paste that. That way we have to capture that. or else. So you're getting many things, not only SQL exception, in a single request, you're getting many things. You can keep the R guys, it will support R. Either it's a SQL exception or some other exception, it will support R also, and also it will support. Okay, it's a purely mule expression, it will support R and that symbols. Right? So then, if you observe here guys, in my case, what happened here, once get failure here, where it will come, so then it should come here actually, one of the catch block. So why? Because this catch block is matched. Hey Venkat, if you have to handle the exception under somebody's Lavanya sent a short message. Hey Venkat, if you have to handle the exception under which component we can do it? I told you no. Lavanya, are you following? So these are the components you have to use actually. One is choice exception strategy. Is that the question, right? What are the components you have to use for error handling? You are talking about that one only, right? Just quickly show you once again the top palette. Search for exception here. As of now, I'm trying to use these two guys. One is catch plug, another one is choice plug, choice exception strategy. What I did, first we have to drag and drop the choice exception strategy. So next one is there is a chance to feature, maybe if it is a one also, keep it a choice exception strategy, under that keep it a catch plug. So tomorrow one more, if you want to handle, simply drag and drop one more catch plug. So is that your question? These are the component you have to use for exception handling. If it is a rollback, if it is a something like reference exception strategy. So these are all support to your error handling. So these are the components we have to use it. But as of now, I'm trying to explore on these two: catch exception strategy and the choice exception strategy. Am I answered your question, Lavanya? Hope I answered her question. She is not responding. Okay, anyway. So coming back to that, so you can see my debugger here. It gets stopped at so wherever I put a catch exception strategy, so it will display there. So then you can check this in the debug mode, guys. So in the main debug, the reason, exact reason also you can simply paste it. We already prepared that syntax exception dot pause dot message. You can see here what was the reason it is. That reason I captured it. That reason I'm sending back to the user, guys. If you see in the console, I'm getting many things, right? Many things in the sense whole print stack trace I'm getting here actually, right? This much message, but we don't want that much, so we need to capture whole exact reason is what. Because suppose in there is other scenario, I'll put it like this: you are storing whatever the exception you are getting, you are storing into some clean mechanism. If you store whole things, store whole things, there is no much use actually. And one more thing is the conversion also. Sometimes there is a chance to some symbols and all, right? So the symbols and all we need to convert into string. If it is a string, then that time only it will allow action. So the parsing is bit tough actually. That's why, I mean, that is not the exact reason actually, but what was the exact reason, that is enough actually. Okay? If you see this reason, you can easily understand, right? If you see where is this? If a user will see this reason, I mean not user, I mean to say consumer developer actually. User does not understand, end user does not understand, right? So after taking this, that who is consumer developer, he have to convert his own format. He need to show their users actually, because he is our user, right? He's a technical guy, so that's why we are sending this much information. Or else, if he's a non-technical guy, what we need to do, guys? We need to we need to read this. We need to read this. We go through it. This is enough actually. Mule user one does not exist. Boss, please change your credentials. Something gone wrong with your credential. Proper error message we have to send back, guys. So that was the reason here. So inside cache flag, whatever you want to prepare it, the payload or else format conversion, you can implement whole flow action. So I'll just click next and resume. You can see the logger actually, what was the reason it is. The reason logger I displayed. So any questions, guys? Observe here. Observe here. So yesterday in the last session we discussed about if you handle catch block properly, remaining statements will execute. I was trying to say about differences between error and exception, right? If you handle exception properly, this step will continue. It will go continuation execution, right? Observe here, there is no error. You are getting error, you are getting exception, but I didn't see any. I'm just seeing whatever the payload in the previous step, that payload is clearly displaying actually. Suppose you are not handling properly, what it will happen? This won't display. It will give error like whatever the exception thrown, na, that whole print stack trace it will come here actually because the payload get overridden with the exception, right? So that will come and that will display here. So I handled properly my situation. So that's why whatever the payload I handy in the previous step, the same payload I am trying to open here actually because payload not disturbed because of we handled properly. Okay, so that is the thing, guys. Another thing is like if you handle one more exception, like just open this catch flag, drag and drop one more catch flag, and then keep it here. I put it like org.postgres.util.psql exception. You can keep it another exception accordingly. You can handle that situation. So, any questions, guys, about exception handling? Hope you people so get to know how to capture your exception, how to put it, how to what was the condition, so how it will jump to the particular catch flag. So then how to handle it. So hope you people are getting clearly. Okay, so coming to next level, guys. So if you see here, if you write some 10 exceptions, so this is not the best practices to write this way, guys. What we need to do, so if you see my flow is not looking good also, right? If I keep it five things here, five catch flag, it's look like a huge, it's like a consumption kind of thing, right? Congested kind of thing. So what we need to do, best coding standards. So here in the exception, in the palette, we have a reference exception strategy, guys. Hope you people can see. Reference exception strategy. What we need to do, so we have to drag and drop your reference exception strategy. Just drag and drop in the other flow, guys. So here is error handling. I'm just expanding that arrow. So then drag and drop that reference exception strategy. So here is the reference exception strategy. So drag and drop the reference exception strategy. If you see here, this is nothing but your like your subflow, guys, flow reference, guys. What flow reference will do? Hope you people are practiced about the flow reference, guys. We already discussed about the flow reference, what will do. So what flow reference will do? If you mention your subflow here, it will jump to that subflow, right? It's like a based on that via flow reference, it will talk to the subflow. It will come back to your main flow once you've done that process. It's like a method calling, right? So what we'll do in the Java or some other technology, we will write one function in your whole. There is a main program, so in the main program, we'll simply call that particular functionality you wrote in the some other method. It will go there and it will execute it. It will come back to your main program, right? Similarly, here also, we can able to create some flow references. What flow references will do? So it will once it will come to the flow reference, whatever the subflow you mention or else private flow you mention, right? It will go that subflow and it will execute. It will come back, right? Similarly, here also, what I'm trying to do is, so there is a global exception strategy. You can mention your name of your exception strategy, guys, where you want to go there actually. Suppose in my particular case, what I did, so this way I did actually, like just drag and drop choice block under the catch block. What we can do it, so here all the XML, end of the day we can see all the XMLs, right? You can create a global exception strategy, like new, there is a mule configuration XML. So create some global underscore exception, that's it, exception. That global exception strategy you can click it. Okay, strategy .xml will come clearly. So this is my exception strategy, guys. Global exception strategy, it's nothing but a configuration XML. So what we need to do, so then go back here, so then refer that global exception strategy here. Once you done that once you done that so you have to refer here. What it will happen, whenever something gone wrong in your flow, it will come to reference exception strategy, first case, right? So once it will come there, so you implemented all the exceptions here, all the exception, whatever you've done, the choice exception strategy, the whole thing, you've done it here. I'll just copy paste this part and just open the backend part, guys. XML, just control X, click. Okay. Leave it, guys. So this way, we have to write multiple exceptions we need to handle here. So there is a separate global exception strategy. So this is not only for your flow, guys. If you are working in some project, so there is other people also can implement their own flows, right? So everybody can use this global exception strategy. Why? Because there is a common exceptions will be there, right? Suppose if you see there is a SQL exception, there is a common exception. Everybody can face that, right? So they no need to write again. If you already handle, I handled already this SQL exception, so no need to handle separately. So everybody, if simply they will, they put a, so this type of reference exception strategy. If refer this global exception strategy, then it will come to the particular where you handle that catch block. It will come there and it will execute it, guys. So coming back to this, so what we need to do, so we have to see here. Observe here, guys. Now we can see that. Earlier I did not see. So now what it will happen? So once you are trying to execute this, so if something gone wrong in your flow, it will come here and it will go to the choice exception strategy. Where is the choice exception strategy? So this is under here, guys. Why it is displaying here? This name it is taking actually. This name, whatever the flow name is there, no? That name it will take it. So it will come here. What you have done inside here, this part will execute and it will come back. So these are coding standards, guys. You have to use reference exception strategy. It will go to that particular catch flag. It will execute. It will come back. Okay. So we used three exception strategies, guys. One is choice, catch, and then reference exception strategy. 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys. So, guys, any questions? If you don't have any questions, so we'll discuss the somebody have queries, no? So we'll discuss these queries. So then tomorrow we'll see more exceptions, guys. Tomorrow, as of now, we discussed only SQL exception handler. So tomorrow we'll see some more exceptions like null pointer exception, and we'll see some like what we call member format exceptions. We'll see few more exceptions, and we'll see the standard also, how to implement it. Whatever I seen just now, right? We'll implement that part. I will show you. So who's facing issues? Raju. Raju, right? Raju, can you hear me?
Yes, my God.
Yeah, you only right facing issue. You sent WhatsApp message, no?
Yes, it was required yesterday night. It was in configuration file that has to be extended, and Java path has to be mentioned there. I've done the student fine.
I'm not hearing. So can we discuss that issue?
Yes, my God.
Okay, I will just give a presenter to you. Just share your screen. We'll see that one. Can you share your screen?
Actually,
Yeah, good. Go ahead. Raju, can you share your screen? Yeah, thank you. Show me what was the issue you're facing. Guys, that's all today's session actually. If you, anybody want to leave, then you can leave it. Or else if you want to see the error, then you can continue. You are unable to start AnyPoint Studio, no? That was the issue.
Venkat, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yesterday night I had changed some configuration settings in mulesoft folder,
Okay.
so it started working again.
Oh, okay, fine. So then you don't have any questions. What you are looking for? AnyPoint Studio shortcut. Huh?
Yes.
Just put into desktop, na? Right click on that, keep it into desktop.
You are able to see my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this you done, huh? Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. So this way you can do it, or else I hope you did not set class path properly. That is the issue actually. Okay.
And later I have made changes like how
Mm,
to implement and everything.
okay.
So one more issue was Java JDK has to be the first one.
Okay. Yeah, I sent you. I told you this thing only. You can keep it Java underscore
Okay.
home also. Yeah, fine.
Now it's working fine.
Okay, fine. So you are not facing any issue then, right? It's working fine, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So anybody else have questions, guys? I'll just take the controller back. So guys, anybody have questions? Okay, hope so. We're all good. Vishwa, any question?
No, nothing for now.
Okay, okay, fine. So guys, please practice
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Please practice it so
Yeah, yeah, sure.
we'll get more questions. So that's all today. So we'll connect tomorrow. So thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Good. Bye.